Thank you for reminding me. And in every class, do remind me to record these sessions. So I usually forget to record these sessions. Thank you, Vasireti. Okay, so we are going to talk about, uh, okay, Brian, these record, after I record these things, these recordings are going to be uploaded to YouTube. I will post the link for these sessions upon YouTube so that you can reevaluate and restudy them. Okay, thank you. We are going to whenever we talk about asymptotic analysis, we are going to be looking at two main things. The first thing that is obvious from this graph is what is the value of n, after which I can clearly state that one function will always be larger than the other function. So in case of 100 times n and n squared, what value of n can I say that is the minimum value? After that value is always one function dominates the other function. So we can say that in this particular scenario, the value of n is 100. After 100, I know that n squared will always dominate 100 times n, right? Because 100 times n grows linearly, and n squared or 100 squared and 200 squared and 300 squared and those numbers always grows with some power, right? So the first thing that we want to know about these asymptotic analysis problems is the minimum value that after which my order of growth is actually interesting, right? Okay. Now, before we move into some proper analysis, let's look into some general algorithm complexities and how they increase over time. And so let's say that this particular row, so this particular row, 10, 100, 1000, 10,000 and 1 million and so on. So let's say that the left handmost column is your number of values that we are working with, n essentially. Now, if our algorithm grows linearly, now a linear algorithm, I'll give you an example of a linear algorithm, but if our algorithm grows linearly, then we know that our time complexity of that particular algorithm depends upon the value of n. And if n is 10, the linear complexity of that algorithm is 10. If n is 100, the linear complexity is 100. If n is 1000, again, it is 1000 and so on. In general, a linear algorithm usually means that given an array of size n, I need to look at every possible element of that array at least once. So basically, if my array has 1000 elements, I need to look at every element at least once. Okay, so weird question right now. So can someone tell me an example of a linear algorithm? An algorithm where I would need to look at every element at least once. Maximum. Yes, linear search, max min. Yep. Yes, I'll come to that. Indu, so insertion sort is a sorting algorithm, right? I will look into insertion sort in more detail. So you're sort of correct that insertion sort might require a linear time, but in general, insertion sort requires a big O of n squared time. So we are not going to look into that. But in general, you guys are correct. Linear search and maximum, meaning finding the maximum out of an array, or figuring out if a particular element exists in an array, is basically a big O of n algorithm, right? Okay, perfect. N log n, on the other hand, means that I am going to, so whenever we see log n, we mean that we are going to divide that array into separate components. So for the n part, yes, Lokesh, Aman, Yaswanti, and I'm not going to look at all of the names, but you guys are correct. Yes. So n log n means there are two parts here. The first part is n. We are going to look into that in a second. But log n means whenever you see log base 2n, usually assume that we are going to separate out our array into some parts. And then we are going to work on that and whether we need to combine it or not. So for example, let's say merge sort. In merge sort, we separate out our array into smaller and smaller and smaller components. And after that, we are going to combine them together. This combination part is what makes this n part, and n log n usually means that we are talking about some recursive sorting algorithm. On the other hand, log n is, for example, is an algorithm that breaks out an array into smaller and smaller components, but never combines them. So an example for a log n complexity algorithm would be binary search, right? Binary search basically, yes, exactly, Lokesh. We break out our array again and again, but we never combine them back together. Perfect. You guys are more smarter than I thought. Okay. Okay, so give me a second. Let's see. What's binary search? Matt, binary search is a search algorithm where the goal is that I give you an array. The requirement is that array is in ascending order. And the goal is that if I give you an element, so let's say that the array has some numbers, let's say, I don't know, I'll type it out, 2, 4, 8, 10, 12, and so on. So these numbers are in sorted order. Now, let's say that I ask you to find the number 8. Now, I can do a linear search where I search every other element, that is 2 equals to 8? No. Is 4 equals to 8? No. Is 8 equals to 8? Yes. So yes, I find that algorithm, I find that number. But that complexity of that particular algorithm is going to be n, big O of n. However, binary search performs this particular trick where it divides that array into separate components, where I will only check the middle value. So now let's say that I'm searching for the number 10. Now I will only check the middle value of this array and I'll check is 8 equals to 10. And since 8 is smaller than 10, I will discard this entire left half of this array, that is 2, 4, and 8. And I will only consider 10 and 12. And then I am able to do this because I know that for binary search to work, my array needs to be in sorted order. And since it's sorted, I know that 10 cannot be on the left-hand side anymore. It can only be on the right-hand side. So I then check for 10 and 12, and then I find out the middle point again, and then I find, okay, the middle value is sort of 10. And then I say, yes, I found that value. So binary search essentially is a recursive search algorithm that breaks down the array into halves every time to search for a particular element if that exists or not. Does that sort of make sense, Matt?
Yes, it does. Perfect. And are you saying that because you're parsing it like that each time, that what would the end value be, or what would the?
So search is essentially an algorithm that we are searching a particular element in that particular array.
I'm just saying, like, where would it fall on this chart?
In this particular column here.
Oh, okay, yes, all right.
Right, okay. Because so whenever we have, so the difference between log n algorithms and n log n algorithms is that log n algorithms divide that array every time, let's assume in half every time. N log n algorithms also divide that array in half every time. But n log n algorithms then have an extra step to combine all of them together into a single solution once again, where log n algorithms do not. So binary search, once the moment I found that solution, I'm done. But n log n algorithms, on the other hand, for example, merge sort or any recursive sorting algorithms, once I've divided that array into smaller and smaller and smaller components, I need to join them back again to find the final sorted solution. Make sense, Matt?
Yes, sir, it does.
Perfect. Then we have n squared complexities. Usually that is less efficient sorting complexities. So for example, bubble sort, selection sort, insertion sort. We also have n cubed complexities. N cubed complexities are harder to find, and I would be amazed if some of you knew what an n-cube complexity algorithm is. Okay, tell me, what's an example of an algorithm that has a complexity of n-cube? It might be less efficient, but can someone tell me what's an example of an algorithm that is n-cubed complexity? I don't expect you guys to know, but just a random answer might work.
Maybe if you have this sort of two-dimensional array.
Sorting a two-dimensional array. Yes, that is one answer. Yes, sure, that is one answer. Matt, some loop, yes. So if in general, if we have 3 nested loops, yes, that is an n-cubed complexity. Yes, but a more let's say more popular algorithm for this n-cubed complexity would be matrix multiplication. So whenever we multiply 2 matrices, that general complexity of that matrix is essentially, that matrix multiplication is essentially n-cubed. People have worked really hard to reduce the complexity of n-cube matrix multiplication. And do you guys know the latest state-of-the-art complexity of matrix multiplication? So it's essentially just multiplying 2 matrices, right? So does anybody know what's the latest best complexity of multiplying 2 matrices? I'll type it out here. You can answer if you want. So matrix multiplications in general are n-cubed. The best way that someone, and that's called the Strassen's algorithm, the best algorithm that someone has found to multiply 2 matrices is essentially n to the power of 2.81. That is the best performance gain that they are able to find. Okay, but good answer. Yes, sorting a matrix, you were on the right track, and some loop, yes, man. Then we also have more complicated algorithms such as 2 to the power of n, where n is the number of elements, and we also have n factorial. That grows way faster than 2 to the power of n. So you guys can see here that log base 2 of n or log of n is the sort of the best complexity that we can get except of a constant complexity. Then we have a linear complexity of n. Then we have n log n that is slightly more complex, but in general that is still okay. Then we have n squared, then we have n cubed. Then now we talk about exponential complexities. Mainly we talk about 2 to the power of n complex algorithms, and then n factorial algorithms that is just way too complex for us to solve. In general, we can think of it as, let's say that we have a size of 10, the array has a size of 10. Then if we have a algorithm of complexity n, then it takes the same amount of time as n, right? So 10 squared takes 10 squared time. So similarly for log n, 10 squared takes 6.6 units of time. And when I say units of time, essentially it means it depends upon your processor, but the number of, I'm generally talking about the number of operations it takes for your algorithm to converge. Now, up to n cubed, we are still able to sort of solve problems for large numbers of n. For example, 10 to the power of 6 is the complexity for n cubed becomes 10 to the power of 18, right? So cubed becomes 18. And if you think about it, that is generally in the order of, so let's see, a million is 6 zeros, a billion is 9, and a trillion is 12 zeros, right? So 10 to the power of 18 is 1,000, not even 1,000 actually, 10,000 trillion units of time, right? And once we get into the realm of 2 to the power of n complexity algorithms, then even for 10 squared numbers, so that is basically 100 numbers, we get a complexity of 10 to the power of 30. And that is huge. Even if a computer that computes 1 trillion operations every second, let's say, and it doesn't,